Bobcat Weekly is brought to you by Rocky Boots. It's the final week of February. It's time for another edition of Bobcat Weekly. Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Eisenstein. Welcome to the broadcast level inside the beautiful Convocation Center. We'll start with wrestling. Congratulations to the Bobcats. They, Central Michigan, and Kent State have wrapped up a co-championship in the league. There are just 6 schools that have wrestling, so every match counts. Ohio and those other 2 schools went 4-1 in the league by virtue of the Cats' 28-9 win over Eastern Michigan at home over the weekend, and Central Michigan beating Kent State over the weekend, and Ohio knocking off the Chippewas, and Kent State taking on just their first loss of the season. It's a 3-way tie for the title. Ohio and those 2 schools and the rest of the league will battle it out for a total MAC championship coming up in DeKalb, and the MAC championships hosted by Northern Illinois. To the match over the weekend, Ohio was dominant. At the 141-pound class, Tremaine Lindsay had a major decision. He's one of the best wrestlers in the country. And Ryan Geringer had a pin at 184 pounds. Gabe Ramos took on a victory, but by forfeiture, so Ohio really rolled the Eagles. We'll see what happens in DeKalb at the MAC championships. Congrats again to the Bobcats, and good luck to them in DeKalb. Bobcat men's basketball is really hitting stride, much like they did last year. The Cats have taken 6 of the last 8, including in that a bracket buster victory in Rock Hill, South Carolina over the weekend over Winthrop, 77-74 on Saturday night. The ball game went to overtime. Ohio was on top by 20 early on. The Eagles have taken 8 of their first 10 home games this year, so you figured they put on a little bit of a charge, and they did. Ohio was up by 5 at halftime and then won the second half. The Eagles did to tie it up at 64 going into the extra session. Ohio won that extra period 13-10. Winthrop had a chance to tie it at the buzzer, but that three-pointer rimmed out. A long rebound went to corner left. The clock continued to tick, and the rebound then was spiked down to the floor. Ivo Baltic picked it up, and Ohio took the victory. Ohio is now 5-4 in true road games this year, and in the bracket buster all-time, the Cats are 5-3. Davon Washington had 25 points, but more importantly than that, he was a beast down low. Tommy Freeman had 21 points, 7 threes, and those 7 threes now ties him with Dave Jamerson at the top of the all-time three-point make list in Ohio history. He figures to break the record on Wednesday night at the Convo against Bowling Green. He has 239 threes now. 240 sets the record. The bracket buster has been huge for Ohio over the years. You remember what happened in 2005? Jeremy Fears backflipped and Ohio won at Callahan Hall in Detroit over the Titans. And then last year, Ohio run it over Wright State. And that helped Ohio win the MAC championship and then on to the NCAA tournament. The speed that they started to build towards the end of the year, perhaps it could happen again this year. Just 4 games left. It starts off with the Falcons on Wednesday night. Ohio lost to BG up the road in Northwest Ohio earlier this year. It's an STL broadcast, but of course, turn that TV sound down, or at least make it a little lower, and turn our radio network coverage up. We're on at 7 o'clock for the tip at 7:30. Bobcat women's basketball honored Camille Buckner, Carolyn Barnett, and Thea Golson on Senior Day Saturday at the Convo, but Ohio lost an 8-point lead in the second half and dropped a ball game to the Zips in Athens for the first time since 1987. Akron won it 59-57. It's on the road this week at Kent State and at Buffalo. Bobcat softball won just 1 game in its first weekend of competition to start off the season. They went down to South Carolina 2 to a tournament hosted by Charleston Southern, and they really had a great weekend. Won 3 of 4, finished second in the event, knocked off Mercer, Virginia Tech, and Charleston Southern, dropped the final contest to the Hokies, and that's why they finished second. But if you have strong pitching in the circle, really sets the tone, and Ohio certainly got that from Emily Wethington. She won all 3 of the games for the Bobcats. They have this weekend off, and then it's back home to start off home play weekend after this one. In an invitation they'll host, Cleveland State will start it off. For tickets and details on their home schedule this year, go to OhioBobcats.com. Right here, click around to the softball page. Ohio baseball went down to South Carolina as well and was swept by the Furman Paladins, outscored 35-11 and dropped the series a 4-game set. It's right back to the Carolinas this weekend, this time in North Carolina, in an event hosted by Davidson. Bobcat Track and Field will complete the indoor season at the MAC Championships coming up in Bowling Green over the weekend. They won an event this past weekend. 7 victories of the 19 events went to the way of the green and white. They won it in an event hosted by Capital in Bexley. Good luck to Bobcat Track and Field at the indoors at BG. Bobcat Swimming and Diving has taken 10 program victories in the MAC all-time and 3 in the Greg Werner era, and they'll try for their 11th all told and their 4th under Coach Werner coming up this week in Athens. The MAC Championships are hosted by Ohio. It's really been a great year for the Bobcats. They've closed so strongly. They haven't lost since very early on in the year. And coverage for you of the event will be right here on OhioBobcats.com. Evan Shaw, Ashley Hartzell, and the rest of the Bobcat TV gang will show you coverage, live coverage, every night in the event that starts off on Wednesday night, streaming video right here. And, of course, click around to the swimming and diving page for ticket information. All session tickets and single session tickets are available. We want to see you in the green and white at the pool here on campus in Athens as Ohio tries to win a MAC championship. That brings us to the Bobcat calendar, and swimming and diving starts it off. The event begins on Wednesday. Women's basketball is on the road to Kent State, and men's basketball hosts Bowling Green. On Thursday and Friday, swimming and diving continues. On Friday, the MAC championships for indoor track and field are up at Bowling Green, and baseball starts off its weekend. The Cats will take on Lehigh, Davidson, and Lafayette. On Saturday, women's basketball at Buffalo, and the men will host Akron. That'll do it for another edition of Bobcat Weekly. We'll see you inside the Convocation Center on Wednesday night. We'll see you for swimming and diving. Good luck to Bobcat Track and Field at the indoors. And we'll be right back here for you next week to recap it all. Now for Ashley Hartzell, I'm Russ Eisenstein. This is Bobcat TV.